What happens when the unthinkable becomes reality? This is Tipping Point Files, and today we're exploring the first hours of a nuclear exchange in a hypothetical World War III. For generations, the world has lived under the shadow of nuclear weapons, held in check by a fragile balance of terror. But what happens when that balance shatters? As global tensions reach a boiling point, a single decision could trigger a chain reaction that ends civilization as we know it. This isn't science fiction. We're breaking down the timeline, the technology, and the human stories behind the world's most terrifying scenario the moment the missiles actually launch. Understanding these critical hours isn't just about a hypothetical war. It's a stark warning for our future. Imagine this. In the dead of night, satellites orbiting high above the Earth detect the telltale infrared bloom of a massive missile launch. On the ground, early warning systems scream to life. Across continents, sirens blare through sleeping cities, a sound few have ever heard outside of a test. Leaders are whisked away from their beds, rushed to hardened underground bunkers, while millions of ordinary people are left to face the unimaginable. The countdown to catastrophe has begun. In the next few minutes, the fate of humanity will be decided not by years of diplomacy, but by decisions made in seconds. Can anyone stop what's coming? For decades, the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, kept the peace. The idea was simple. A nuclear attack by one superpower would be met with an overwhelming nuclear counterattack from the other, resulting in the complete annihilation of both sides. It was a terrifying stalemate, but tonight, that stalemate is broken, whether by accident, a catastrophic miscalculation, or a deliberate act of aggression. The ultimate taboo has been violated. The first missile is in the air. On screens inside command centers like Cheyenne Mountain in the US and the Kasvinsky Cayman in Russia, commanders scramble to verify the threat. Is it a real attack, or a false alarm? A flock of geese? A computer glitch? They have only minutes to be sure. Every second that ticks by brings the missiles closer, and the window to respond shrinks to nothing. Once that first missile is confirmed, there is no turning back. The world's most powerful weapons are now in play. Inside these command centers, deep underground, the pressure is suffocating. The men and women staring at these screens hold the fate of the world in their hands. As confirmation of the attack comes in, nuclear second strike protocols are activated across the globe. Nuclear-powered submarines, the silent hunters of the deep, receive their launch orders. These boomers, hidden beneath the waves, are the ultimate insurance policy, designed to survive a first strike and retaliate. High above, long-range strategic bombers that have been circling on airborne alert break from their holding patterns and race toward pre-assigned targets. And deep within missile silos buried in the plains of North Dakota or the vast forests of Siberia, crews begin the final launch sequences. For the leaders in their bunkers, this is the moment of truth. They are presented with a series of horrifying options, each one worse than the last. Do they retaliate immediately and risk escalating the conflict into a full-blown global apocalypse? Do they launch a limited counterstrike, hoping to de-escalate? Or do they hold back, absorbing the first blow and risking the complete destruction of their nation's ability to fight back? These are decisions that must be made in less time than it takes to order a pizza, yet their consequences will echo for centuries. The weight of billions of lives rests on their shoulders. The logic of MAD dictates that the only rational choice is to retaliate massively. The chain reaction has begun. Less than 30 minutes after the initial launch, the first warheads begin to re-enter the atmosphere. Traveling at hypersonic speeds, they are unstoppable. They descend upon their targets' major cities, vital military bases, and critical industrial centers. One moment, a city like New York, London, or Moscow is a bustling metropolis of millions. The next, it is engulfed in a flash of light brighter than 1,000 suns. A fireball hotter than the surface of the sun vaporizes the city center. A blast wave traveling faster than the speed of sound flattens everything for miles in every direction. The devastation is immediate, absolute, and unimaginable. In the blink of an eye, millions of lives are extinguished. The world's greatest cultural and economic hubs are reduced to radioactive rubble. For those on the periphery, the horror is just beginning. As the missiles fall, civilization teeters on the brink of collapse. Governments that still exist issue frantic emergency broadcasts, their messages often garbled or cut short as communication networks fail. Panic erupts in the streets of cities not yet hit. Families desperately rush to makeshift shelters in basements or subways, clutching what little they could grab. Hospitals are instantly overwhelmed, not just by the wounded, but by people desperate for answers and safety. In the chaos, the normal rules of society break down. Survival becomes the only goal. Neighbors help neighbors search for loved ones in the rubble. Strangers become allies in the desperate fight for water, for food, for one more day of life. Every moment is a struggle against the new, terrifying reality. The shockwaves of this exchange are not just physical, they are global. The world economy, a complex and interconnected web, shatters. Stock markets, if they are still open, crash to zero. Global supply chains, which deliver everything from food and medicine to fuel, are severed. Ships at sea are ordered to new, unknown ports or are simply lost. Alliances that have stood for decades fracture as nations turn inward, scrambling to protect what little they have left. World leaders who survived the initial attack face impossible choices. Do they escalate the conflict, seeking revenge with their remaining arsenals? Do they desperately sue for a ceasefire in a world where communication is now a luxury? Or do they simply try to manage the collapse of their own nations? The world order, so carefully constructed over generations, is upended in a matter of hours. As the first radioactive dust begins to settle, the world stands at a terrifying crossroads. Has enough damage been done? Some military leaders, driven by protocol and a desire for victory, might push for further escalation to finish the fight. Others, seeing the hell they have unleashed, will desperately seek to establish contact with the enemy, to find an off-ramp, a ceasefire, anything to stop the madness. In the smoking ruins of once great cities, survivors emerge into a world they no longer recognize. They look at the sky, now darkened with soot and debris, and they search for hope, for a sign that the worst is over. The entire planet holds its breath, wondering, can humanity pull itself back from the brink of total annihilation? The first hours of a nuclear war are not just a nightmare scenario from a Cold War thriller. They are a calculated reality, planned for in minute detail by militaries around the world. It's a warning, a reminder of the razor-thin line that separates peace from annihilation. It highlights the profound dangers of miscalculation, the failure of diplomacy, and the terrifying speed at which our world could unravel. As we watch the headlines today, as we see tensions rise between nuclear-armed states, remember the lessons of these first few hours. The decisions made in minutes can irrevocably change the course of human history. Understanding this tipping point, this moment of ultimate crisis, could be the key to ensuring it never happens. This has been Tipping Point Files. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the world's most critical moments. Let us know in the comments what crisis you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching.